Welcome to Serving Spirit, a show that helps to heal the mind, body, and spirit. My name is Connie Smack, also known as Connie Warrior of Light, and I have a very special guest here today, Robert Taylor.
Hi, Connie.
He's very special because he is one of my mentors who has taught me so much, and I am super excited to be interviewing you today. And it's a little interesting because I'm on the other side now.
That's right.
Because
Some years ago, we interviewed
yes.
you on Out of the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. So it's been a few years.
And what was that show about?
Exactly the same kind of thing. Food for the body, mind, and spirit. So we would do anything from psychics to alternative healers, even creative people. We had bands on and did it for 25 years. So yeah, so it's been a few years since. So I'm so happy to be on your show.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much because we are super excited again because you are a wealth of knowledge and I can't wait to dive into these questions. I've been thinking of these questions ever since we spoke. I have a lot of them. Hopefully we have a lot of time for this, so we'll see. Let's start with one of my, I think, most burning questions that I have is, and I find this so fascinating, is you were a monk.
Yes. Yeah, I actually quite way back when I was 20 years old, that would be 53 years ago, I got on the spiritual path. I'm a child of the 60s, a baby boomer. So we were all kind of looking for something spiritual at that time. I came upon a book called Perennial Philosophy, and it's by Aldous Huxley. And he just discusses different spiritual paths and saints. He gives quotes from different saints in different traditions. And I was especially attracted, maybe past life, to information from the Vedas. And the Vedas are actually the world's oldest writings. They're written over 5,000 years ago in the ancient Sanskrit language. Veda meaning knowledge. So people will be stunned to know that 5,000 years ago, the Vedas talked about subatomic particles. They would actually calculate time from the movement of the atom from one space to the next. They talked about vimanas, which means rocket or airplane. In our local university, Oakland, they have copies of the Vimana Shastra. Literally tells you how to make an airplane, and the fuel they used was mercury. So there's information 5,000 years ago they were flying. And not only in the air, but on the land, in the sea, same vehicle. Amazing. Let me see what else. Of course, everybody's familiar with yoga. Yoga's from the Vedas. And yoga actually means to link the individual self with the Supreme. So there's different types of yoga. The one we're really familiar with is Hatha yoga. But I practice bhakti, which is the yoga of devotion. So linking with the Supreme through devotion. So I'm in Amsterdam, Holland. And after reading that book, I decided I am going to go be a monk.
That is a big decision.
And at the time, could have been Buddhist, could have been Catholic, could have been Hindu. But I was attracted to India. At that time, of course, George Harrison from the Beatles was chanting Hare Krishna and doing all sorts of yoga. John Lennon also was somewhat into it. In fact, my own guru stayed at John Lennon's Tittenhurst Park for about 3 months. And one of the buildings was just like a temple. So John would join us in the evening, join him in the evening to do chanting. Of course, at one point in the evening, you'd hear a little squeaky voice upstairs, which would be Yoko. John, it's time for bed.
That's fascinating.
So anyway, went back to London, and there's actually a part of London, Chelsea, called the World's End. So my world really did end. I walked into this bookstore called Gandalf's Garden, hippie bookstore. First book on the shelf, Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of the Vedas. There's hundreds of Vedas, but Bhagavad Gita is the essence. It means the song of God. So I got that book and I was off.
So that's, I could only imagine. And again, this is why I'm so excited to ask you questions, because there's things I've known you for many years.
Yes.
And there are so many things that I don't know. Who would have thought the Beatles and would be mixing with, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it. You just think rock and roll and then you think a guru.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds of that combination and how that would work?
In what sense? They kind of revived the whole interest in India, especially George. Even in the music, if you listen to their music, sitar, and Ravi Shankar taught George how to play the sitar. So he's obviously doing all over again from another life, Mm-hmm. In fact, one of the names in Sanskrit for God is Hari. Hari means one who takes away. So my guru told George one day, even your name, Hari's son, you're the son of Hari.
Oh, okay. That's so interesting, and how they're, and the whole past life we're going to get into as well.
Yeah.
But there's so many questions I have about being a monk. So you're in your 20s and you're in this bookstore, you come across this book and you're like, I'm going to be a monk.
Yep.
So prior to being a monk, did you get all your, because you mentioned being in the 60s and the 70s and whatnot. Yeah. So did you get all of that spice out of you, if you will, beforehand, or?
Yeah, I think even as a child, even though my mom and dad didn't really introduce me to any church, I went to a church school, Church of England school, and from there got into the Church of England, got into the choir, and so I was very interested spiritually. And then I grew up in a really spiritual county in England where Stonehenge is.
Oh, yeah, there's
Stonehenge. Avebury is another stone circle. About 25 miles away is Glastonbury, which is considered to be like the Mecca of England. So I grew up, and I always tell people, I actually got to be born in Wales, and it was in a town called Carmarthen, and the town in Welsh is Carmarthen, means the town of Merlin. So if Merlin existed,
which then he does exist.
That's where he was born. Yeah.
Now, believe that.
Then I meet my wife Pamela, who's a very expert astrologer, mm-hmm. and she was a real expert at asteroids, which not a lot of astrologers are into. And she tells me, "Oh my gosh, actually, when you were born, the sun was conjunct the asteroid Merlin." So I have all these connections. It's crazy. So, what you find out from the Vedas especially is that we're eternal. There's never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. We are forever. So that means we existed prior to this body, and we're going to exist after this body. Where do you go after this body? That depends on how you've used this life. So that's what we call karma. Mm-hmm. Karma means action, reaction. For every action we perform in life, there has to be in the future a reaction. So the body you're in, the parents you were born to, your degree of material intelligence, the fact you're a female, not by chance, that you have created your current life circumstances by how you've acted in past lives. So here's Robert Taylor, born in Carmarthen, Wales. I really liked my parents. They were sweet, very sweet people. And I've grown up with certain education, not by chance. I created that my current life circumstances by how I've performed in the past. So how I'm using this body is where I'm going next. So the goal of any religion is to realize God. So that's the goal. If I can be focused on God when I leave this body, I don't come back. What does that mean? No more birth, no more death, no more old age, no more disease, no more stuff caused by other living beings, or the body and mind, or the natural phenomena, such as earthquake Beryl, not earthquake, the hurricane Beryl that just came through, devastated the Caribbean. So these things don't exist in the spiritual atmosphere. And it's described, you, the soul, are eternally full of bliss and knowledge. It's just covered over. So we're looking for the bliss in the wrong place. We're looking for the bliss in the material world. Actually, there's a transcendental atmosphere, and the soul is part of that. The soul is a transcendental spiritual being. Yeah.
That's a lot. And I mean, I believe the same. I totally believe this. I'm so on board. So you mentioned past lives, and you mentioned coming back and how you lived before, what you're here to do now, like the Akashic Records, if you will, or the your blueprint, I guess. So, well, actually, let's do this. So what is the Akashic Records? Maybe let's talk about that, and then I'll segue into the next question.
So everything we do is recorded in the Akash. Akash actually means ether, space. Everything that we do is actually recorded. And so there was a very famous, very good American mystic called Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce would do a self-hypnosis, and he could go into the Akash. So there's one very famous story. A little boy had been paralyzed since he was 12 years of age, completely paralyzed. So his father went to Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce went into the Akash, where he could see, recorded, each soul's life. So it turns out that boy had suffered paralysis till he was 12, and it was all because of a pinched nerve. So they did an adjustment, and he was able to walk. And
he was healed.
He was healed. So this is interesting, because the Vedas, they're handed down. These are beings not from this world, actually. They're from, it is said, they live in the Great Bear. The 7 sages of India. The 7 sages, and each one of those sages was blessed directly by God that they could sing the destiny of any soul. So if you go to India, there are libraries from these different 7 sages. There are priests in the library. They're coming in the line right from the sage, hundreds and thousands of years. They're either born in a special family, or I could tell you another story. It's fantastic. So anyway.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of these great sages I'm connected to, because he's my guide now, is Bhrigu Rishi. So now we're going to go to a famous American actor, Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey was making a movie in India, took his wife, and they heard about the Bhrigu Library. So Matthew is raving about it on The View. So you go to the library. If you have your exact birth time, then they may do your astrology, your Vedic astrology chart. Otherwise, if you're a woman, they take the left thumbprint, because that's the feminine side. If you ever get one of those nose jobs with the stud, it's got to be on the left, because that enhances the feminine.
Really?
Yeah.
So he might be sporting when it's time to see me.
So Matthew's raving about it. He says, there is no way they could know the detail. He said, I know I'm famous. No way. So what happens is, he did it with the thumbprint. So they tell you usually come back in a couple of days. You come back, and the priest is sitting with these thin strips of palm wood, which is what they used to write on before paper. And that's what they used to write the scriptures on, palm wood. In my case, I haven't told him anything. Your name is Robert. Your mother's name is Florence. Your father's name is Eric. Eric was a tire builder. This is before tires. Crazy. Yeah, they go right through your life. And you don't have to do the 8th chapter because they tell you health challenges and the moment when you're going to leave the body, you the soul. They'll tell you. Now, why is that good to know? Well, if you know when you're going to leave your body, you're going to know when to focus your mind on God. And again, if you focus your mind on God, you don't come back.
So basically, I can do whatever I want. And then up until the last minute, where is this place?
Yeah.
Where is this located?
You just talked about the honorary degree. You may get the honorary degree. Yeah. There are histories in the Vedas of very bad individuals who got grace. They got the mercy at the last minute.
because they shifted their energy and their belief right at the 12th hour, if you will.
Yeah. There's a famous story. His name was Ajamil, and he was a Brahmin priest. But he went out in the woods to gather flowers for his altar, and he saw a prostitute, doing her job. And he really took to the prostitute. He hired her as his house.
How convenient.
Yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately for his wife.
Yeah.
Ditched the wife, and to support his habit with a prostitute, he started to do all sorts of criminal things, including murder. Anyway, at the time of death, he had a lot of children. The last child, because of his spiritual past, he called the child a name of God. So there's a name, Naran. Naran is a name for God. So it's in the Vedas, it said, just like in the movie Ghost, when the bad guy remember the black creatures?
They came in.
They came in after him. They were going to drag his astral body. And so he sees them. They're waiting for him. And he starts to shiver and shake because they're ghastly looking beings.
I mean, I would shiver and shake too. I think I'd be crying.
So he calls for his son. Narayan! Well, it's the name of God. The name of God is none different from God. So they're about to drag him out, and there are angels called Vishnu Dutas. Vishnu Dutas are the messengers of God. They come in. Can't touch him. He chanted the holy name of God. They said, what? So what? He wasn't calling for God, he was calling for his son. He said, it doesn't matter. God's name is God's name. So whether you call Narayan, Jehovah, Krishna, Rama, Buddha, Allah, these are names for God. All the power of God is in God's name. So my guru used to say, you may not be able to see God right now because you don't have the eyes. You're covered, because you can hear God. So he taught the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And that's chanted by millions of Indians. It's called the Maha. Maha means the greatest. And it's specially recommended in this very troublesome times that we live in. You don't have to join anywhere, be a monk. Just add that to your life. And what happens is you experience, your consciousness becomes purified. And as your consciousness becomes purified, you begin more and more to perceive yourself as a soul. And in perceiving yourself as a soul, you see everybody else as a soul. So that's how you get to love everybody. Because you see somebody who's non-different from you. We're all non-different. So His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami used to say, Actually, this is very important right now because we're all going to go vote. Mm-hmm. There's only one problem on the planet. Actually, there's only one. Everything comes from the one problem: skin disease. Everybody's under the illusion that they're this material body. But all the atoms making up our bodies right now, they're all going to change in 1 year. 98.7% of the atoms. So how can we be this? Blood, bones, urine, and all the rest of it. You are the divine, eternal, indestructible, immutable soul in this body. Yeah. I'm non-different from you, from Stephanie, Cassidy, Pamela. We're all the same. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where it goes beyond the Christian philosophy. Wherever you see consciousness, wherever you see life, there's a soul. Anybody got a cat at home? There's a soul in that body. Yeah, dog, the birds, the trees, the grass. Now this is the shocker. The lowest body that somebody can take. There's a soul, there's a germ. It's called the Indragopa germ. That's the lowest body.
That's somebody who did probably not some nice things.
Or they're even starting out.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Guess I didn't think of that one.
Yeah. So the Vedas talk about evolution of the soul, not Darwinian evolution. It's not that one species has evolved into another. The species are already set. There are unlimited species. There's actually lots and lots and unlimited souls in your body right now. You just happen to be the conscious being. You're the most important soul in that body. And it's described you're indestructible, you're immutable, you're eternal. Also, the word is used inconceivable. So for our great scientists, Einstein, Heisenberg, brilliant as they may be, they have no access to the soul because the soul is not material. The soul is transcendental, spiritual. Mm-hmm. And it is so infinitesimal, they give a measurement in the Vedas. How about this? Take a tip of your hair, divide it into 10,000 parts. 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair is the dimension of view. It is said you're in the region of the heart, transcendentally. That's how come the heart is associated with love. It's not the organ, right? It's just an organ. It's the soul. So just like sweetness is the essence of sugar, love is the essence of the soul. So the more we become self-realized, the more we purify our consciousness, which is not different from the soul, the more we perceive who I am and the more we perceive who everybody else is. So we don't unnecessarily harm anybody. Little ant up to, a beautiful tiger. Yeah, we don't have right to do that because we're just part of the whole. So, how about this? I'm not a Christian or a Hindu. I'm not a black or a white person. I'm not a male or a female. I'm not a Palestinian or an Israeli. I'm none of these labels. You can change the labels. You can change the labels. Mm-hmm. I am the soul.
I am the soul. I love that.
I am the soul, and I'm the eternal servant of God. That's our essence.
Okay, I'd have so many questions out of this.